We are ready now to listen to the words of the Holy Gospel, the good news of Jesus. Please join me in the Gospel acclamation.
The Lord be with you. And with your spirit. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Glory to the Lord. As Jesus walked along, he saw a man who had been blind from birth. His disciples asked him,
Rabbi, was it his sin or that of his parents that caused him to be born blind?
Neither, answered Jesus. It was no sin, either of this man or of his parents. Rather, it was to let God's work show forth in him. We must do the deeds of him who sent me while it is day. The night comes on when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world.
With that, Jesus spat on the ground, made mud with his saliva, and smeared the man's eyes with the mud. Then he told him,
Go, wash in the pool of Siloam.
This name means one who has been sent. So the man went off and washed and came back able to see. His neighbors and the people who had been accustomed to see him begging began to ask,
Isn't this the fellow who used to sit and beg?
Some were claiming it was he. Others maintained it was not, but someone who looked like him. The man himself said,
I am the one.
They said to him then, How were your eyes opened?
He answered, The man they called Jesus made mud, smeared it on my eyes, telling me to go to Siloam and wash. When I did go and wash, I was able to see.
Where is he?
He replied, I have no idea.
Next, they took the man who had been born blind to the Pharisees. Note that it was on a Sabbath that Jesus had made the mud paste and opened his eyes. The Pharisees, in turn, began to inquire how he had recovered his sight. He told them,
He put mud in my eyes, I washed it off, and now I can see.
This prompted some of the Pharisees to assert,
This man cannot be from God because he does not keep the Sabbath.
Others objected, If a man is a sinner, how can he perform signs like these? They were sharply divided over him. Then they addressed the blind man again.
Since it was your eyes he opened, what do you have to say about him?
He is a prophet, he replied.
The Jews refused to believe that he'd really been born blind and had begun to see, until they summoned the parents of this man, who could now see.
Is this your son, they asked, and if so, do you attest that he was blind at birth? How do you account for the fact that now he can see?
The parents answered, We know this is our son, and we know he was blind at birth. But how he can see now, or who opened his eyes, we have no idea. Ask him. He is old enough to speak for himself. His parents answered in this fashion because they were afraid of the Jews, who had already agreed among themselves that anyone who acknowledged Jesus as the Messiah would be put out of the synagogue. That was why his parents said, He is of age, ask him. A second time they summoned the man who had been born blind and said to him,
Give glory to God. First of all, we know this man is a sinner.
I do not know whether he is a sinner or not, he answered. I know this much. I was blind before, now I can see.
They persisted. Just what did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?
I have told you once, but you would not listen to me. He answered them, Why do you want to hear it all over again? Do not tell me you want to become a disciple too.
They retorted scornfully,
You are the one who is that man's disciple. We are disciples of Moses. We know that God spoke to Moses, but we have no idea where this man comes from."
He came back at them.
Well, this is news. You do not know where he comes from, yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not hear sinners, but if someone is devout and obeys his will, he listens to him. It is unheard of that anyone ever gave sight to a person blind from birth. If this man were not from God, he could not have done such a thing.
"What?" they exclaimed. "You are steeped in sin from your birth, and you are giving us lectures?"
With that, they threw him out bodily. When Jesus heard of his expulsion, he sought him out and asked him,
"Do you believe in the Son of Man?"
He answered, "Who is he, sir, that I may believe in him?"
"You have seen him," Jesus replied. "He is speaking to you now."
"I do believe, Lord," he said.
and he bowed down to worship him. Then Jesus said,
"I came into this world to divide it, to make the sightless see, and the seeing blind."
Some of the Pharisees around him picked this up, saying, "You are not calling us blind, are you?" To which Jesus replied,
"If you were blind, there would be no sin in that. But we see, you say, and your sin remains."
The Gospel of the Lord.
Where does the time go? I don't know about you, but it seems to me it was just about a week ago that we were coming up this aisle to receive ashes on Ash Wednesday. And now here we are, the fourth Sunday of Lent already. And this particular Sunday of Lent, the fourth Sunday of Lent, is called Laetare Sunday, which comes from a Latin word which means to be joyful. So why are we joyful on the fourth Sunday of Lent? Well, number one, I don't know about you, but I think the Reverend Mackey is looking particularly handsome in his rose vestments. But mostly, we are joyful because we are coming ever so close to the great feast of the resurrection, the day on which Jesus rose from the dead and opened the doors of heaven, giving us access to eternal happiness and eternal peace. Doesn't come any better than that. So that's why we are so joyful on this particular weekend. Now, we just listened to a very important gospel, the gospel of the man born blind. It has many messages for us today, as always. Here is a man who had never known the difference between light and darkness, never ever, never had witnessed a sunrise or a sunset, could not ascertain the difference between blue and red, and most importantly to me, was never able to see, visually see, the face of someone that he loved. For me, this is the greatest gift of our sight, being able to see the faces of the people that we love. And so, he has a chance encounter with Jesus, the healer, and bada bing, all of a sudden, all those things that he had never experienced, now he could see. He could see light and darkness. He could determine the difference between colors. And he could see the faces of the people that he loved. I can't imagine it. I value my sight so much. And you know, I think you would agree with me that we so often take so many of our blessings for granted. And it's not until we lose something or lose someone that we realize what we have lost, that we realize how grateful we should have been. It's not until perhaps we experience macular degeneration or cataracts, or with me, shingles in my eye, that I think back and say, because I've lost some sight in my left eye, I should have been more grateful for the really good sight I had some years ago. It's not until we lose someone in death, for many of us, that we realize how much they meant to us. And we kick ourselves for not spending more time with them, for not saying to them, I love you. And now the time is gone. And so in this gospel, Jesus came to heal blindness, but not just physical blindness in the man born blind, but also spiritual blindness, as he addressed to the Pharisees, and he addresses to us. We all have bouts and areas of spiritual blindness. Those of us who are drivers know what a blind spot is. When we're driving, we cannot see everything on the side of us, either side of us, by looking in the side view mirrors or the rear view mirror. There's certain areas on both sides that are not visible to us unless we go the extra step and look over our shoulder this way to make sure that if we're going from the second lane into the first lane, there is no one there. But we have blind spots in our lives as well, don't we? And it's up to each of us to identify what our own personal blind spots are. So what are we talking about here? Think about these images. Whatever it is that clouds your vision, not your sight, but your vision, that's a blind spot for you or for me. Whatever takes a place between you and the kingdom of God, whatever it is inside you that encourages you to make judgments on another person's heart, whatever it is that distracts you from keeping your eye on Jesus, those are your blind spots and my blind spots. Those are the things, whatever they may be, that keep us from recognizing Jesus in our brothers and sisters. And so things like prejudice and racism and jealousy and gossip, those are all facets of our blind spots that keep us from recognizing Jesus, keep us from seeing the face of Jesus in our brothers and sisters. These blind spots give us a kind of amnesia where we forget that Jesus loves everyone, everyone. He doesn't play favorites. God doesn't just love some people and not other people. Some people of one color and not another color. Some people that live certain places and not other places. Jesus loves everyone. And this is what we are called to as well. Only, however, if we are able to work on and eliminate, not that we will ever do that perfectly in this lifetime, but our baptism calls each of us to work on those blind spots and diminish them over time. There's a story told about a man who went into a classroom for visually impaired children. And he looked around and he said, right in front of the children, somewhat insensitively, I would say, it must be terrible to go through life without two good eyes. And immediately, a young girl in the classroom said, well, it's not half as bad as having two good eyes and still not being able to see. Smart little girl. We may have physical sight to great lengths, but it's the spiritual sight that we need to keep on working on. You know, in the early church, those who were preparing for baptism, they looked upon their journey toward baptism as moving from darkness, blindness, to light, living in Jesus. Those of us who were baptized when we were very young children have a tendency to take our baptism for granted as well. And so it does my heart good, because I'm one of those people who takes it for granted. It does my heart good to see people like Ariana in our parish who is preparing now for baptism. People like Elena and Trista preparing to be brought into the Catholic Church, trying to look at every aspect of the church, trying to grab on to the virtues of Jesus. They should be a lesson to us to value the graces and blessings that we receive because of our baptism, but also the responsibilities related to our baptism. So, if you want this kind of vision that we're talking about in this gospel, sing with me. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. I want to see you.